Hello there. Hope you're having a wonderful day. This is another Skull Button Devlog. I'm talking about my game VSCS-III. And for anybody who hasn't watched any of my previous videos, just to catch you up to speed, I am making a game that is set in a fictional operating system based roughly on Windows 3. And just to go straight into the main topic of this video, a big part of any operating system you will have used, especially desktop ones, is the file system. So that's what I'm building, if it's not obvious from this little graphic that I've thrown together here. And there's a couple aspects to that. As usual, a lot of complications, but let's take a look before I actually jump into the engine at some of my mockups. So if I scroll down here, you'll see a couple of different ways that a user can interact with the file system in my game. The first one, which is the most obvious, is the file browser window right here. So this file browser window is fairly straightforward. We just need a grid of icons. I'm playing around with the idea of a scroll bar. I've talked about scroll bars in my previous videos and why they're kind of a pain, but chances are I will be adding one because there will be some scenarios where you will be able to see, more than just 12 folders or text documents or whatnot. And I'm thinking I'm just going to allow you to click on the tops of the icons, perhaps, or maybe they just peek out to indicate, there's some more things you can click on down here. You should probably go scroll down. Aside from that, nothing too crazy here. This is just a placeholder icon to show kind of how the spacing works. Most of what you're going to be seeing are folders and text documents, which I think are pretty nicely sized. And then I've also got a key icon, which I'm just using for testing purposes. And there was a key icon in my last game, VSCS-II, so, I'm working with what I need for now. But chances are there will be some more icons added as I go along with development. So the only other interesting thing that I'm doing here, it's all interesting to a point, but I think it's a neat complication, and I don't really know where I'm going with it, but I think it would be fun to add, even if it doesn't really add anything gameplay-wise, is interacting with the file system through the terminal. So I mentioned in my previous video, I believe it was the last one, that I am adding a terminal application so that you can interact with your fictional VSCS operating system through the terminal. And just like you'd be able to do on any desktop system, you can actually go in and browse your file system through the terminal, and it gives you a lot more fine-grained control. I don't think I'm going to go super deep with it, but I think it's pretty cool if you can actually navigate through the file tree, because if you think about it, a file system is just structured like a tree, right? So on the left and the right, this file browser window and this terminal window are kind of doing the same thing. They're just pointing at, a folder, which is just a node, which has children, which are other folders, which are also nodes. And I've written all that code out. But what these two windows are doing is just pointing at one or the other. And when you double click on an icon or change directory to go into a folder, it's just changing that pointer, if it can. There's some error detecting, obviously. And then when you go back up, it's just going to the parent of that folder. So without getting too deep into the computer science stuff, you can think of a folder structure as a pretty basic tree that has to be doubly linked so that you can go down into the children of a folder and then back up as you're navigating through. And then you've got all these different node types, such as text document folders, which can have children, and, keys and other types which can't. This is not as fun to talk about without demoing, so I'm going to jump into the engine. I will be right back. Okay, now for the fun stuff, where you can see that I have actually been doing things, not just messing around in my design document. Okay, so we've got this file browser icon, which I don't believe was there in previous videos. So I'm going to open that up first thing. And you can see we've got a file browser. And a bit weird in the top right because I don't actually have a minimize button. I haven't implemented window minimization. So there's a little gap where that's probably going to go. But you'll notice there is this button here, which actually goes up a directory. So it essentially just goes back. And if I click it here, nothing's going to happen because I'm actually at the home directory. But if I click into this documents folder, you'll see that this refreshes, and you can see what's inside of that folder. And we can go back up if we want to. But if I click in there, you'll see there's a text file, which when I double click, you can see in the bottom left, it's not implemented yet. I don't actually have a way to view text files. This text file does actually have a reference to a MD file in my streamable assets in my Unity project, but there's no way to actually open it just yet. It's pointing at it, but I can't do anything with it. Another cool thing that you'll see that I didn't mention before is I've got locked folders. So what I've done, I'll actually close this quickly and show you just in isolation. I've created a password pop-up that I can spawn in dynamically anytime that I need to. And this is just a prefab like all the other windows, and it requires a password. And then you can type, enter, and it'll tell you it's wrong. You can submit, it'll tell you it's wrong again. You can cancel and it'll close. So, to no surprise, if I go back to that locked folder, it'll actually ask me to enter a password. And maybe I go, I don't know the password. Well, that's not the password. So maybe I try to guess it here, and I go, what was the password? And it goes, yes, it was. There are a couple things missing from this, because there's a lot of nuance to how pop-ups and kind of the flow goes, like the user interaction flow. For instance, you'll notice it closed immediately on a success instead of giving a success message, which I don't really like. I'm going to fix that. It also didn't return the focus to this window, so I'm going to do that by just clicking on it right now. So a lot of little quirks there, but I'm pretty happy with that so far. But now you'll see the locked folder is unlocked. I can double click in there, and hey, we've got a locked text file as well, which has its own icon. And I'm going to double click. I'm going to go password. Oh, that's not right. What about password 1? Oh, that was correct. Perfect. And again, we can't open text files just yet. Kind of goofy, but I'm very happy with that. So all this is really is just a grid. So it's got some masking on it as well. So if there were, 20 folders in here, obviously you can see how they're spaced from this. So it'll go 4 by 3, and then they'll overflow, and kind of, as we saw in the design document, they'll kind of pop up above the top. So this is masked right here. So you won't be able to click on all those folders underneath. And obviously there's no scroll bar yet. I'm too scared to implement that, and I probably need to make a widget for it so that I can reuse it in other areas, because the one that's in the select component in the settings isn't fully working. I'm clicking and dragging right here, but the up and down there works. This is also very tied to this select component, the code, so I probably need to make a generic scroll bar, which will be a bit of work. So next up, let's take a look at the VSCS terminal. I've shown this off in a previous video, but nothing was actually working. It couldn't actually read any inputs, but now it can. So if I don't know what I'm supposed to put, and I just go, did not recognize command, type help for assistance. So I'm gonna go help. And it is case insensitive, which is good. And it'll go, this is a help message, which is not very helpful. In theory, it will actually tell me some commands. I just happen to know them because I wrote the code for it. And suppose I want to know where I am. There is a command for that, which is just, it's just lost. And it'll say, hey, you're in the home directory. And if I want to know what files are in this home directory, I can say list. And it'll say, hey, there's a documents folder. And you'll notice this mirrors what we were seeing in the file browser earlier. And in that documents folder, there's a README and a locked folder, so let's try and go in that. And also, before any programmers get upset with me, I do have an aliasing system set up, so if you type ls, it will print out the same thing. So don't worry. And for any people who are using Windows, that also works. Don't panic. I'm probably going to miss some, but I know people will appreciate that. So if we cd into documents, there we go. It tells us our current location, and we can, I'm going to try and use the VSCS commands instead of the Unix ones. or the bash ones. I don't know the terminology. Ignore me. Okay, if I list them, we can see the README and the locked folder, and then I can CD into the... Actually, I don't know if this is going to work. Locked folder. Yeah, I haven't handled spaces yet, so there's some work to do here. Also, if I hadn't previously unlocked these folders, the terminal would still be able to open locked folders. It doesn't have a system to unlock them yet, so I'm still figuring that out. Quick note as well, you'll notice I'm using weird command names. So CD obviously is an alias, but for the actual VSCS, it would be the keyword open. So if I'm going to try and go back, and it sends us back to home. Also, CD ... does work. I've already implemented that one. But if I open documents, that is the VSCS fictional command. And the reason it's using list and open and back as opposed to ls or dir and cd is because those are the goofy commands. They're always 4 letters. You'll notice that I used in my first game, VSCS-I, which was a web puzzle game that started off this whole bit of nonsense. So I'm trying to do a bit of a throwback to that. Obviously, it's not perfect. It's a little clunky, so I want those alias commands in there. Okay, the terminal thing's a bit hard to follow. I don't think this will be a really big thing for casual players, but I want to have this in for the programmers who are playing my game, because I know that's a big part of the audience for the last game that I made. And a lot of the folks I talked to who played VSCS-II were saying, I really wish I could do cooler stuff, and I wish I could open a terminal and feel like a hacker. And, you know, I'm going to try and make this user-friendly for people who aren't as familiar with navigating a file system and doing things through the command line, but it's not going to go super, super in-depth, and I don't think it's going to be critical to gameplay. So for now, just to get a feel for how much I like it as a gameplay element, I'm just going to mirror everything that I'm doing in the file browser in the terminal. So it's going to match. You can functionally do the same thing. Anyways, I think that's just about it. A little bit of a short one today, but I think that's okay. And obviously a lot of work left to do and a lot of polish left to do on the file browser window in the terminal, but I'm enjoying this like mirroring and providing players with options based on the type of player that they are. I think that's a good design choice. Okay, I'll leave it off there. I hope you have a wonderful day. It is the summer now. I know I've ended most of my videos by saying stay warm. That's just a thing that I say because I'm Canadian. So I'm going to say stay safe, stay cool, and have a wonderful day. Bye.